Subscribe to the MTL World at Metal World 1 YouTube channel. Swallowed Star 2, Origin Continent. Volume 9, Advancing Through the Darkness. Chapter 359 Perfection Part 2. 21st of Volume 9. Translator, Shadow Knight AK. Editor, Shadow Knight AK. How is it possible? Luo Feng was very surprised. In his opinion, even if the Xuanhuan prisoner's strength increased several times, it would be unlikely for him to escape from the alchemy furnace. But at this moment, the resistance force contained in the alchemy furnace shocked Luo Feng. He tried his best to suppress it, but the resistance force surged sharply in just a few breaths. Bang! The lid of the alchemy furnace was pushed open, and a terrifying and dazzling figure rushed out from it. The Xuanhuan prisoner's form had shrunk slightly, and its body was now covered in a layer of golden flowing flames that even gave Luo Feng a sense of mortal threat. Something's wrong. Luo Feng raised his head, staring at this figure. You lowly practitioner, let me show you the true power of a high-level Xuanhuan life form. The Xuanhuan prisoner instantly transformed into a golden blur, charging at Luo Feng. Luo Feng responded solemnly, stretching out his right hand as a grayish-blue spear materialized in his grip. The spear thrust forward, carrying the profound mysteries of life and death. Destroy. The Xuanhuan prisoner simply threw a punch, its fist carrying the power to annihilate heaven and earth. The blow landed on the spear, and the terrifying force transmitted through the shaft, shaking Luo Feng's entire body. The spear in Luo Feng's grasp disintegrated silently into dust, while his arm fractured in multiple places with a sickening crack. Just gripping a secret treasure was enough to shatter my arm. This is the true power of a high-level Xuanhuan life form. Luo Feng guessed it in an instant. After all, he had studied multiple high-level Xuanhuan bloodlines and gained deep insights. This was the kind of power a high-level Xuanhuan life form should possess, something he had also deduced before. Previously, the Xuanhuan prisoner's strength had been completely sealed, and its movements were sluggish, capable of only crude, brute force. But now, it was wielding a trace of its true high-level Xuanhuan power. Luo Feng could also confirm that the opponent was only using a fraction of its power. If it had unleashed more, he would have been obliterated in an instant. The nature of their strengths was fundamentally different. Before this Xuanhuan prisoner, there was no concept of distance, no distinction between strong or weak. Any force below the high-level Xuanhuan would simply vanish. With a thought, Luo Feng's body merged into the endless blood sea, and the blood sea formation activated at full power. Boom! The Xuanhuan prisoner, its body wreathed in golden flames like a miniature sun, plunged straight into the endless blood sea. The water of the blood sea was rapidly being eroded and annihilated. Even with the immortal heart reinforcing it, and despite the vast formation, the endless blood sea was visibly disintegrating at an astonishing rate. Facing the Xuanhuan prisoner, Luo Feng was like an immense glacier confronting a tiny sun. The glacier was extremely vast, but the sun, though small, possessed inexhaustible power, capable of endlessly melting the ice. There was simply no way to fight this. In direct combat, even with a secret treasure, my arm was shattered. A few more exchanges, and my body would be torn apart. Even after using the endless blood sea formation, it's being steadily incinerated. At this moment, Luo Feng could think of no way to defeat his opponent. Is escape the only option? He could split into countless clones and flee through the cracks in space. But why should I escape? I have cultivated to this level precisely to face a worthy opponent. Even if this body is completely annihilated, my clones in the large Xuanhuan Hall can recover 1.2 billion times the energy reserves in moments. This battle, either I win, or I die. Luo Feng's fighting spirit blazed. Losing a few clones. A dozen life-death treasures. He didn't care. What he sought was true mastery of the semi-Xuanhuan Tao of life and death. Once he achieved that, such losses would be trivial. The endless blood sea surged with monstrous waves, enduring annihilation to unleash terrifying strikes against the Xuanhuan prisoner. Come at me, ha ha ha. The Xuanhuan prisoner hovered midair, utterly unfazed whether the sea transformed into a colossal dragon to smash down or chains to bind it. Every drop of blood sea water was burnt away by the golden flames. Vast stretches of the sea's surface were now covered in a thin layer of golden fire, continuously eroding the blood sea. Strangely, as the blood sea was being annihilated, the golden flames did not weaken. Instead, they grew stronger, feeding on the blood sea's power. The power of the blood sea was naturally being absorbed by the golden flames, which meant that the Xuanhuan prisoner could only use a trace of his fundamental strength. HMPH, for you practitioners in the cage, this is a difference in fundamental nature. Though I can only use a sliver of my true power. Your body may be vast, but it'll just take a little longer to burn away. The Hunyuan prisoner hovered triumphantly as the golden flames corroded and tainted the endless blood sea. My undying blood sea body has been 10% annihilated, and polluted by 21%. Luo Feng was acutely aware of his current state. Against the pollution of high-level Hunyuan power, he had no means of resistance at all. Once corrupted, the power of the blood sea becomes uncontrollable, even hindering the full potential of my entire body. Have we gone too far? High in the sky, the silver-haired man, Chu Zhe, frowned slightly. If the Hunyuan prisoner can wield even a trace of high-level Hunyuan power, Luo Feng won't stand a chance. The red-robed woman, Yi Feiya, also watched the battle with concern. The fight is completely one-sided. Despite Luo Feng's massive body size, he poses no threat to his opponent at all. Without that sliver of high-level Hunyuan power, the Hunyuan prisoner would be no match for him. Yi Feiya remarked. Luo Feng has already reached an astonishing level within the confines of this cage. Only high-level Hunyuan power can shake him. Our choice wasn't wrong. In the end, it's just a corruption of power, Chu Zhe nodded. Even if Luo Feng fails, we can easily purge the contamination for him. But soul corruption. That was beyond their control. That was why they had sealed away the Hunyuan prisoner's soul, life core, and all other formidable abilities, only cautiously unleashing a minuscule fraction of its true high-level Hunyuan power. Yet even this tiny fraction was enough to overwhelm Luo Feng. The Hunyuan prisoner can fly now. It's grown even stronger. In the distance, the 1,000 or so observing practitioners were stunned. For epochs, they had dared to besiege the creature precisely because it was slow and flightless. But now, not only could it fly, its speed was terrifying. This meant it could threaten countless practitioners at will. God Emperor Luo Feng is fighting it with everything he has. Let's hope he succeeds in slaying that monster. The practitioners prayed fervently, even as they spread the news. At this moment, some practitioners were already rushing to the scene. After all, the battle of this magnitude between Luo Feng and a Hunyuan prisoner still attracted many practitioners. Even Longju Daojun and God Emperor GK were on their way. But it would take time for them to travel. Meanwhile, the endless blood sea fell eerily still. It had ceased its attacks. Ha ha ha. Giving up already. The Hunyuan prisoner hovered midair, gazing down at the silent sea. Golden flames licked the surface, while deep within the blood-red depths, Luo Feng sat cross-legged, ignoring his foe entirely. The annihilated portion of his body wasn't significant, but the corrupted portion has now reached 59%. Luo Feng could feel the endless blood sea slipping from his control. The 52% corrupted mass was rebelling, drastically weakening his command over the remaining forces. With his strength plummeting, further attacks were pointless. The corruption was spreading rapidly. If this continued, his clone would be lost forever along with the many life-death treasures it carried in its 1.2 billion-fold energy reserves. Even a wisp of high-level Hunyuan power. Even with my 1.2 billion-fold perfect divine body's energy reserves. In mere moments, it's corrupted this much. There is a legend saying that newly ascended high-level Hunyuan lifeforms have their power unsealed, thus their soul corruption was far deadlier, capable of tainting even the soul and consciousness. But if one's spiritual will could transcend the cage, they could suppress and purge all pollution. The Yuanxiang Palace Master had once faced a newly ascended high-level Hunyuan being, after that his very soul was polluted. This is just a minor contamination. Expelling it should be easier. Instead of engaging the Hunyuan prisoner, Luo Feng focused every shred of his spiritual willpower into a single purpose, purging the pollution. The soul corruption and the golden flames annihilating everything, Luo Feng was suppressing the life force while purging the pollution. Under the dual threat of pollution and annihilation, Luo Feng was concentrating his spiritual will to resist it with all his strength. And then he sensed a slight change in the entire spiritual will consciousness system. Life had gained instincts. Every microscopic unit of Luo Feng's colossal form now possessed extraordinary vitality and awareness. At this moment, under existential threats of pollution and destruction, the life instincts of countless life units had overwhelmed their other instincts, making them more perfectly united, forging a flawless unity. There was also a slight change in the operations of the spiritual will consciousness system, a change Luo Feng detected instantly. I've found it. Under extreme threat, his spiritual will consciousness system had evolved, revealing a more profound operational pattern. This was the epiphany he'd sought, a trigger that could perfect the flow of his spiritual will consciousness system. Once experienced, with Luo Feng's level of cultivation, he can firmly remember the entire spiritual will consciousness system. In this state of mysterious and complex operation, at this moment, without hesitation, Luo Feng restructured his spiritual will consciousness system accordingly. As soon as he restructured, Luo Feng could feel that every unit of the endless blood sea synchronized more efficiently. His consciousness was being expanded exponentially, his awareness surged, the veins of consciousness that ran through each node were extremely strong, culminating in a complete consciousness of unprecedented level. Then, boom! His spiritual will suddenly broke through that layer of the cage. After transcending the cage, his spiritual will, now unbound, reveled in limitless freedom. It enveloped his entire body, asserting absolute control. The feeble golden flames, their corruption minuscule, stood no chance. Ha ha ha. Luo Feng's heart swelled with boundless joy. Now, his perfected spiritual will consciousness system reigned supreme control over the endless blood sea. Blank, underscore 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 underscore. End of chapter. Subscribe to MTL World at Middle World 1 YouTube channel.